So this is Doug McIntyre at Climate Crisis 247, and I'm here in the room with David Calloway, the co-editor. Normally he's in San Francisco and I'm here in New York. We're going to talk for a second about something that I find staggering. Last year, the United States produced more oil than any country in history. Now, given that we're trying to become a greener world, Dave, how is that possible?
Well, the U.S. has been, for the better part of the last decade, trying to be more energy and oil efficient, right? And so the shale boom was a big part of that 10 years ago. And so the digging just continues. It's also possible that as we shed coal plants, that a lot more of that money is going into oil production, offshore, onshore. And the idea is to become more self-sufficient, less dependent on the Middle East, obviously. But as you say, Doug, this is coming at a time where, in climate circles, we're supposed to be reducing our oil production in favor of renewable energy like solar and wind. So really what's happening is that demand for energy, and we've talked about this before, is rising so fast that we're at this critical juncture where we actually need everything. We need the renewables we're producing, and we need more oil. And while that's satisfying energy, and particularly the energy giants that are using the most of it, the tech companies and the AI companies, it's really not doing a lot for climate change whatsoever.
It isn't at all. But President Biden said late last year that the oil companies they must continue to produce oil at this level, which is very odd that the President of the United States, who's in favor of the green world, would make that statement. Why would he basically negate everything he would normally say?
Well, Biden's been walking a tightrope on this since he became president in 2020. He can't have a fall in supply. The fall in supply means gas prices go up. Gas prices takes votes.
Doesn't get
right.
Hits
you and me in the pocket. It hurts votes. So he needs all of that energy. He needs to talk the green talk. And I think he really does support the transition at some point. But right now, he doesn't want to be seen to be threatening any oil jobs or any gasoline prices. And so he's just kind of trying to play at both sides of the fence. Frankly, he pisses everybody off when he does that. The climate advocates are really upset when he, allows a new oil well to go in. Oil companies constantly think they're under threat from the Democrats and Biden. But in reality, what's happening is we are just in high gear, churning out as much energy as we possibly can. And any politician, at least on the Democratic side, I think is going to have to walk that tightrope because they can't cast their card one way or the other, or they will lose a significant amount of votes.
Is another part of this that if you're Exxon, you could borrow money at like 1% if you wanted to drill more. If you just said, well, I want to drill more and more. The people who are doing solar and wind are having trouble getting funded. I mean, it's maybe gotten a little better, but the rates that they've got to pay, basically what they've got to jump through to get that done, it's very hard right now.
Yeah, and they're talking about building initial infrastructure. It costs a lot to put up a wind turbine, even more offshore. Exxon's got the infrastructure already, right? They just need to keep drilling, 24 hours. So it's making it harder for the renewable companies. What the renewable companies have on their side is price. And, we are seeing, because of the growth, here's a good fact for you, because of the growth in renewable energy, even though we're producing more oil than ever, actual emissions from the U.S. fell last year. And that has to do with the growth in renewable energy, taking up a percentage of that. So one way or the other, we're managing to stumble our way into lowering emissions, just not fast enough.
One of the things that's happened, and we've talked about this, and it's really recent, is there are more mouths to feed in terms of energy because of AI and crypto. Now, if you said crypto didn't exist, AI didn't exist, I think you could see your way clear to saying the future of cleaner energy is strong, but these are like massive giants when it comes to consumption.
Huge energy suck. And some of these data centers, we're going to see this is going to be an issue going forward for several years. The suck of energy that's coming from these data centers is going to become a political football. At what point does Google and Amazon, get to have a third of the energy in a certain municipality, and people have to have rolling brownouts or something like that? It's going to be a competition for energy. And the inevitable result of that is that anybody that's producing energy, however they produce it, is going to be allowed to do it.
So you're the CEO of an oil company. You read this headline today. You already know it. But you're also walking around saying, I'm Mr. Green. The front of my website, ExxonMobil, it's like, we're the greenest people in the world. We're spending all this money on green. My impression of that is it's entirely misleading.
Well, it's they can say they're spending millions on green, but if you look in you put that conceptualize that, it's a fraction of the money they have to spend and the money they're putting into oil exploration and development. So, yeah, I think ultimately, as renewable becomes a more important source of energy, the oil companies are going to want to be a part of that and buy it. Buy the companies that develop it. But right now, they're just busy drilling and churning out oil.
Is there a chance, and I know that this has been tried, that the administration goes to the oil company, says, I can get through Congress a tax on your phenomenal success and use it to underwrite the development of green energy? Now, I know that that's been thought of a lot of times, been tried a lot of times, but it seems to me that this headline is it's such a huge headline that maybe now's the time to go to the well.
The windfall tax idea, it never really goes that far in Congress. Nobody's in favor in a capitalist society of taxing somebody for being successful. Right? We're seeing, even the tax the rich schemes, always have trouble. The oil companies would fight it. I think at some point they realize they're going to have to be part of it, but it needs to be profitable for them. And so we've seen this interesting situation where the oil companies have been buying each other up. They know they're getting near the peak, right? We know,
yes.
We're not going to have too many more years like where we keep drilling the most in history. And so they're consolidating. At some point, that consolidation is going to shift, and they're going to start buying green energy companies whose shares have been down and are pretty cheap right now.
So that's it. We now have a headline that we are the world record holders. The United States is in a lot of areas. We're the world's greatest drillers. And based on the announcement, it looks like we will be for another 2 or 3 years at least.
I think so. The headline is OPEC who?
Right. I will see you soon.
All right. Great to be in here in world headquarters.
If this